Hello friends, Chris here, CaribbeanPot.com. As always, it's a pleasure to have you guys here in my kitchen. I know you guys are global, and that's the beauty of the internet. We can connect from just about anywhere in the world right here on YouTube. Today's recipe is something special to me because I love me some string beans. Now the thing is, I didn't have string beans, so I got French beans, pretty much the same thing. But we're going to do a curry chicken, and we're going to add some coconut milk, and then we're going to toss in some some fresh, well in my case, French beans, but you can use string beans, any sort of green beans that you like. If you've got Bodie or yard bean, do your thing. So today's recipe, curry chicken with beans. Here we go, guys. Before we get to cooking, we've got to marinate the chicken, and what I have here is about 1.5 pounds of boneless chicken thighs that I cut up into small pieces, maybe about 1 inch or so pieces. And we need to season this and marinate it for about an hour before we get to actual cooking. So in goes a teaspoon of salt, and you can certainly use less salt and later on add more if you want. I've got here 1 tablespoon of Caribbean green seasoning. In the description of this video, I will show you guys how to go about making that. It is very simple, very versatile. And we're going to crack in some fresh ground black pepper. A full list of all the ingredients I use here today will be in the description of the video. And finally, I've got here half a teaspoon of amchar massala. It is something unique to the Caribbean, I believe. If you can't get that amchar massala, it's totally optional. It's going to give it a lovely smoky depth to it. Use some ground cumin, and you should be okay. For those of you down in the Caribbean, we also know cumin as jeera. So all I'm going to do now is give this a thorough mix. We want to mix this up really well and let that marinate in the fridge for at least an hour. I've got a fairly deep saucepan here on medium heat. It's nice and warm now. So in goes a couple tablespoons of vegetable oil. And right away we're going to go in with 4 cloves of garlic that I sort of chopped up finely. And 1 shallot. Give that a quick stir. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my heat down all the way down to low and let that sweat and start releasing those lovely garlicky flavors. Next up, we're going to toss in 1.5 tablespoons of curry powder, and I'm using a Madras blend here. Give that a quick stir. Your heat is still on low. Stir that around because you want this to toast and really release those flavors from the different spices which make up that curry powder. Let that go for about 3 minutes or so. It's time to spice this up really nicely now. So I've got some scotch bonnet pepper. This is about half of a scotch bonnet pepper. No seeds because I don't want that raw heat from the seeds. Traditionally or typically what I would use here is bird's eye pepper or bird pepper. Take the stems off and leave them whole, and you'll get a ton of flavor from that without that raw heat. Quick stir, your heat is still on low, and right away you want to turn your heat up to about a medium high and toss in the seasoned chicken. Give that a quick stir. You really want to pick up all those lovely curry flavors we have on the bottom of the pan. Turn the heat down to medium. Put the lid on there and let that sear and steam and all that juices form in there for about 5 minutes or so. Quick tip, if you're going to be preparing the beans as I did, all I did was trim the edges off, cut them in half. So they're about 1 inch to 1.5 inch pieces. But if you want to do these in advance, you can certainly do that. Just make sure you cover it with cool water so they remain nice and fresh. Just before you're ready to use them, drain all that liquid out because we don't want that liquid, and you will have nice fresh beans even if you did it in advance. The kitchen is smelling wicked already. Got a lovely curry going on here. Boy, is it ever smelling nice. In goes the coconut milk. A little bit different than what we usually do in the Caribbean. We don't usually cook a lot of curries with coconut milk as they do out in the Southeast Asia out there. Bring that up to a boil, but before we do that, we're just going to toss in all those lovely French beans or string beans, depending on which one you're using. Give that a thorough stir. You really want to get that picking up all those lovely flavors from the bottom of the pan and everything. And what you need to do now is turn up your heat and bring that up to a boil. I can already hear that coming up to a boil, so what I'm going to do is turn my heat down to a simmer, put the lid on there, and let that go for about 15 to 20 minutes. It's been about 20 minutes. This is where you're going to check it for salt, adjust accordingly. And this step here is totally optional. I've got me some grape tomatoes just to brighten this up a bit. Quick stir. You can see the nice effect that nice red tomatoes add to the pot here. Guys, this is done. I'm going to turn my heat off. You're going to notice there's still a little bit of liquid in the bottom of my pan here. That's because I'm eating this with roti, and I want that little bit of gravy on the bottom there. But you can certainly cook that off nice and dry, and it'll be just as delicious, even more better, because it's going to heighten the flavors of it all. Doesn't it look just delicious? Kitchen smelling wicked. Chris here, CaribbeanPot.com, guys. It's always a pleasure to have you here in the kitchen with me. Give this recipe a try. You're going to love it. Make sure, try not to overcook the beans because you want that nice little texture from it. It's going to make this pop in your mouth. The lovely coconut curry on the as a base. It's going to be delicious. Rice, roti, bread. If you can't get any of those, go buy some pita bread, man. Chris here, CaribbeanPot.com, guys. It's been a pleasure.